He was just 16, a boy among men, standing under the brightest lights in European football. The pressure was enough to crush anyone but not him. While others hesitated, he demanded the ball. While veterans played safe, he played free, fearless, electric, untouchable. And then, in one breathtaking moment, he changed everything. A left-footed strike, curling into the top corner. The stadium froze. The world gasped. A teenager had just scored one of the greatest goals in Euro history, and he made it look effortless. That night wasn't just about a goal. It was about destiny. Because when Lamine Yamal stepped onto that pitch, he wasn't chasing greatness, he was becoming it. This is the story of the day. A 16-year-old boy shook world football. Lamine Yamal was born in Mataró, a small city just outside Barcelona, far from the glamour of Camp Nou. He grew up in Rocafonda, a tough neighborhood filled with noise, chaos, and dreams that rarely came true. But even there, something about him was different. While other kids played for fun, Lamine played like the game already belonged to him. The ball seemed drawn to his feet, it followed his rhythm, obeyed his instincts. At 7 years old, Barcelona's scouts noticed the same thing. Everyone on those dusty pitches already knew. This kid was special. His mother, from Equatorial Guinea, and his father from Morocco, gave him roots in two cultures and a drive that came from both. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the strongest. But he had vision beyond his years. At La Masia, the legendary Barcelona academy, he learned more than football. He learned the DNA of a philosophy built by legends. Players like Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, they weren't just idols. They were examples of what was possible. But even in that sacred academy, where thousands of dreams begin and end, Yamal stood out. Coaches spoke about his balance, his calmness, his ability to do impossible things without even thinking about them. He plays like someone who's seen the future, one trainer said. And yet, behind the calm smile and quiet personality was a fire built by years of being underestimated because of his age. Every training session, every mistake, every whisper that said, "He's too young," it only pushed him harder. He wasn't waiting for his moment. He was preparing for it, and when that moment came, the world would finally see what Rocafonda had been watching for years, the rise of a boy destined to shake world football. That's exactly where Lamine Yamal found himself. At just 15 years old, he began training with Barcelona's first team. Every day he shared the same pitch as Lewandowski, Pedri, Gavi, and others who had already conquered world football. But what truly stunned everyone wasn't his presence, it was how naturally he belonged there. He wasn't intimidated. He wasn't overwhelmed. He played with the same calm confidence that had carried him from Rocafonda to La Masia. When the senior players saw him glide past defenders in training, they didn't see a kid. They saw a talent that couldn't be ignored. Xavi, who once played alongside Messi and Iniesta, saw something familiar, a spark. In April 2023, with Barcelona chasing victory against Real Betis, Xavi made a decision that would rewrite the record books. "Warm up," he said. And at just 15 years and 290 days old, Lamine Yamal became the youngest player ever to feature for Barcelona's first team. The crowd didn't fully realize what they were witnessing. But when Yamal touched the ball for the first time, there was a roar, that collective gasp when fans sensed they're watching something special. He didn't score. He didn't need to. In just a few minutes, his movement, his control, his composure told everyone exactly what was coming. The stage couldn't have been bigger. Spain versus France, a Euro semifinal filled with stars. On one side, Mbappé, Griezmann, Tchouaméni. On the other, a teenager barely old enough to drive. For most players, this kind of night defines careers. For Lamine Yamal, it defined an era. The opening minutes were brutal. France pressed high. Spain struggled for rhythm. The world was watching, waiting to see if the moment was too big for the youngest player on the pitch. But then, in the 21st minute, everything changed. Yamal picked up the ball outside the box. One defender in front, a quick feint, a shift onto his left foot, and then magic. The ball curled with impossible precision, kissed the top corner, and rippled the net. The crowd erupted. Commentators screamed his name. At just 16 years and 362 days old, he became the youngest scorer in European Championship history. But it wasn't just the goal. It was the confidence, the expression, the fearlessness. After scoring, he didn't sprint to the corner or fall to the ground in disbelief. He simply stood there, calm, pointing to his temple. "Think," he seemed to say. "Remember who I am," in that moment. Legends were watching their future successor. Even Mbappe, usually untouchable, couldn't hide a small smile. Spain went on to win 2-1, booking their place in the final. But the real story wasn't the scoreline. It was that football had just witnessed the birth of a new era, one that belonged to a 16-year-old from Rocafonda who played with the heart of a veteran and the freedom of a child. But as the players celebrated, one name echoed across the stadium: Lamine Yamal. In the stands, fans held their phones high, recording every second. On social media, his goal spread like wildfire. Within hours, millions had seen it. Within days, billions had heard his name. This wasn't just a viral moment. It was a football awakening. Analysts called it a goal from another planet. Commentators replayed it again and again, unable to believe what they'd seen. Overnight, he went from a promising teenager to a global symbol of the future. The media started drawing comparisons to Messi, to Mbappe, even to legends like Ronaldinho. But Yamal wasn't trying to be anyone else. His calm smile said it all. He was writing his own story, and that story had just begun. At Barcelona, the atmosphere changed. Training sessions felt different. The veterans now looked at him not as a kid, but as a teammate capable of deciding games. Coaches spoke about his maturity, his humility. For someone who had just become the youngest scorer in Euro history, he didn't act like a star. He stayed grounded, quiet, focused, grateful. In an interview days after the semi-final, when asked how he felt, he simply smiled and said, "I'm just enjoying football, that's all." But the world wasn't ready to stop talking. Brands chased him. Reporters followed him. Fans across continents wore his number. Yet, through all the noise, Yamal stayed true to the game, the same kid from Rocafonda who just wanted to play. Because deep down, he knew something the world was just beginning to realize. Greatness doesn't need time, it needs courage. And on that summer night, Lamine Yamal had proven that courage could rewrite history. He didn't just score a goal. He inspired an entire generation to believe that age is just a number, and destiny belongs to those brave enough to face the world before the world is ready for them. The world would never forget the night Lamine Yamal shook world football. From that day on, Barcelona fans had a new name to believe in. And while most teenagers his age were preparing for school exams, Yamal was preparing to face Europe's best defenders. The whispers grew louder, the spotlight brighter, but he didn't flinch. Because this wasn't luck, this was preparation meeting, opportunity, the calm before the storm that would soon shake the entire football world. Lamine Yamal didn't ask for the spotlight, it found him. At 16, he carried the weight of a nation, the expectations of millions, and still played with the freedom of a kid from Rocafonda who just loved the game. His story isn't just about a goal, or a record, or a tournament. It's about belief that talent can come from anywhere, that courage can beat experience, and that age has never defined greatness. On that night in Munich, the world witnessed something rare, a glimpse of football's future, a teenager who didn't just play the game. He changed it, and as the years pass, people will look back on that moment and say, that was the day everything began. Because on July 9th, 2024, a boy became a symbol. A dream became reality, and Lamine Yamal shook world football.